Hi guys, welcome to Spring Boot microservice series. The last video we seen how to create Spring Boot application, how this application flow will start, and where this application will start execution. Okay, so coming to this video, we'll dive deep into that essential annotations one by one. So first of all, core Spring Boot annotations. So what the core Spring Boot annotations? Okay, we'll cover here. So for example, annotation Spring Boot application. Okay, this annotation will use in the class level. So if you see the Spring Boot application annotation, so this is annotation Spring Boot application. We are using the class level. This is the main class where this annotation will be there. So application will start execution from this. From this. Okay. Okay, and coming to another one is annotation rest controller. So this annotation also we seen in the previous session. So if you see, this is the controller class. Here we are using annotation rest controller. So why we are using this annotation rest controller is, if you want to make this uh, as a REST API. So we need to specify annotation REST controller on the class level. So these annotations also we need to use in the class level. Okay, and after that there is another annotation like request mapping. So this annotation also class level annotation. So here we are using, and here we need to define the root path of the API. Okay, and after that there is another annotations like annotation get mapping. So this annotation will use to call the read operations. So if you want to perform get operations, we'll use annotation get mappings. Like this, we need to use get mapping. And after that, there is a one more annotations and post mapping. This will use to post the data into database, right? To for that purpose, we use this post, and there is another put. So if you want to update existing object data, then we can use the put. And there is another annotation is patch mapping. So what is the use of patch? If you want to do the partial update into the data, in this case we'll use the patch mapping. So there is a slight difference between put and map. Put, it will use to update entire data inside the object, but patch will use to update any partial data. So just remember, there is a two APS: put mapping, patch mapping. This is very important. Okay, and after that we'll see the delete. So by using delete, to delete the any entries from the database, to delete the object, to delete the data into database, we can use the delete. Okay, so these are the annotations majorly used while performing the operations in the Spring Boot REST API. Apart from that, there are another and there is another app annotations also. So if you see Spring Boot configuration annotations, so what will come in the Spring Boot configuration annotations? So there are few annotations configurations level. One is for annotation configuration. So in the last session, we seen this annotation configuration. So this is using annotation Spring Boot application. There are three annotation. One is annotation configuration, annotation component scan, annotation Spring Boot configuration. So this is the configuration we are using, and another one is annotation component scan, to scan the classes in the folder structure. In the package, we can use the component scan. It will scan all the classes inside the package. Then another one is the bin. To create the object of the class, we can use the bin. And there is another annotation use value. So if you are passing any data from the properties file, to retrieve these values from the properties file, we can use the annotation called annotation value. Okay, and these are all belongs to Spring Boot configuration annotation. And next one is data access annotations. These annotations will help you to deal with databases. To deal with database, we need to use the data JPA. So in this case, to deal with the database, what are the annotations is required? To create the entity, we need annotation entity. So here, why it is not showing? I'm not adding any dependency, so that reason it is not showing. So once we are start working with database, we'll add those plugin into that pom.xml file, then we can see these things. Okay, and another annotation called table will use in the JPA. And another one is id. To generate the unique id primary key, for that one we can use annotation id. And another one is can use generated value. So all these annotations we can use at the time of dealing the database. And there are two more, that is for repository. So this repository annotation will use to deal with the JPA. And another one is service. So this service will use at the time of service layer, and repository will use the repository layer. So all the business logic will write inside the service only, but in the repository having on the only the interfaces, those are communicate with database directly. So we have the some so we need to use code repository and JPA repository. So you can use any one of them to deal with the JPA. Okay, and apart from that, there are another few annotations are there, like security annotations and testing annotations. There are so many annotations, but these are the few annotations we mostly use while creating the Spring Boot applications. Okay, so this is all about the annotations. So these are the list of annotations we'll use at the time of creating the RESTful web services. Okay, so that's it from this video. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful for you, please give thumbs up and subscribe my channel.